Startuprad.io, your podcast and YouTube blog covering the German startup scene with news, interviews, and live events.
Hello and welcome everybody. This is Joe from Startuprad.io, your startup podcast, YouTube blog, and internet radio station on the German, Austrian, and Swiss startup scene. Today we are back. Hey Chris, miss you a lot. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Summer is still ongoing, but yesterday was the first day of fall here in New York. Felt like it.
I actually love it here. Everybody who's listening to this, I'm wearing a polo shirt, short sleeves, but long trousers. So therefore, long pants. I actually really like this weather because the temperature goes down at night. I can sleep pretty well. And during the day, it's not too harsh. It's awesome. Let's get started. This recording will be a tiny bit longer than usual, maybe even much longer. Welcome to this month in German, Swiss, and Austrian startups, our regular summer news wrap up for July and August. This is a special publication, our traditional startup summer news wrap up published on Labor Day in the US, where we get you up to speed again after the summer break. Usually this episode runs a little bit longer than our 30 minutes goal. So guys, now's the time to get a snack and a drink. Welcome to our summer 2024 wrap up with vital news from the startup and tech scene in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. Our startup news is recorded with Chris in New York. And me, Joe, joining from Frankfurt. Today, our news cut is August 21st, 2024. As always, all news not included will be in our next news wrap up. This time, usually we would, let me check my work calendar, we would publish on the 26th of September, but this is a pretty short time. So Chris and I decided we will have the next startup news publication on October 3rd for the very simple reason it's a public holiday. It's Unity Day here in Germany. So we will get you a publication on October 3rd and we have a complete month of news there. Also new, we have a new partner announcement with exclusive benefits for Startuprad.io listeners. Did you know that on average, a blog post gets you way more traffic than a social media post? We have a special deal with moderniqs.com where Startuprad.io listeners can create 2 free SEO optimized blog posts per month in less than a minute. I repeat, 2 pieces free a month. You will get the 2 free posts for your blog each month only when you use the sign up link we have down here in the show notes. This is exclusive for our audience. Normally you get only 1. Also, our partner Deep Ecosystem is running a new survey. You can help shape the future of European startup hubs. Share your insights in the Startup Heatmap Europe survey. Your voice matters. Join us in mapping the next wave of innovation. You can participate with link in the show notes until September 15th. Chris, you are the person who always gives us the highlights, right?
I am, like my whole life, and me too. So full of highlights. So as you said, this is our welcome to the summer 2024 startup news wrap up from Startuprad.io, where we bring you the latest highlights from the startup ecosystems of Germany, Switzerland, and Austria. Also, my apologies, you might hear some construction work in the background. This is just what New York does. If you think it's annoying while listening to the podcast, then imagine living through it. Today is a special Labor Day episode packed with updates from July and August, ensuring you stay ahead of the curve as we head into a hot fall and winter of innovation here. And our top stories include Helsing's Monumental 450 million euro Series C funding, positioning the Munich-based defense AI startup as a leader in European security tech. We explore Lilium's potential sale and relocation due to uncertainties over German state aid. Something that could significantly impact the air mobility landscape. Also, Grover is having a 50 million euro funding round, marking a strategic shift towards sustainable growth as the Berlin tech-based rental company navigates market challenges. Also, in this episode, we delve into Kettleym's impressive 150 million euro Series D funding for cancer immunotherapy, and Osapiens 110 million euro investment to expand its global ESG platform, highlighting some robust investor confidence there in Europe's deep tech and biotech sectors. Not to be missed, European Central Bank's first progress report on the digital euro, a milestone in preparing Europe's central bank digital currency, CBDC. Beyond those individual funding news, we will talk a bit more about the broader startup ecosystem in the DACH region, DACH being the German abbreviation for GSA, Germany, Austria, Switzerland. The European VC landscapes continues to thrive, with venture capital firms outperforming US counterparts over 10 and 15 years horizon. So we see that Europe is gaining some traction in the global innovation landscape. We also spot the surge in European deep tech investments, with McKinsey's research reporting that Europe now accounts for 19% of global funding in this sector, expected to grow to 25 to 35% by 2030. A trend reinforced by record-breaking 18.7 billion euros raised in venture debt during the first half of 2024, signaling an upcoming wave of mergers and acquisitions, particularly in climate tech and fintech. Moreover, the EU's Digital Markets Act, DMA, introduces a new regulatory framework set to reshape tech competition across the continent, and Germany's startup scene faces both challenges and opportunities, with the booming AI startup sector showing 35% increase in 2024, despite government initiatives lagging behind. These ecosystem insights provide an overview of the forces driving the conversation in the startup scene right now. And that's it for me kickstarting our show for today. And I will hand it over to you for more details now. Let's talk startups, but first, schedule.
We are back from the summer break and hope all of you are refreshed and ready for hot fall and winter. This summer we published new episodes each week, plus a few blog posts. We want to highlight just 2 in cooperation with the Curious 2024 event here in the lovely city of Mainz. Legendary engineer, entrepreneur, and one of the world's most cited researchers, MIT professor Robert Langer, also co-founder of Moderna, gave us a remote interview. We talked about research, biotech, and outlook on the world of biotech. By the way, I met him in person in Mainz, but we had to rearrange the recording due to his travel schedule and his very heavy schedule on site. Stephen Chu is the first Nobel laureate we interviewed here. The former US Energy Secretary and Stanford professor talked with us about energy, renewables, US versus European green tech, and why he has personally no solar panels on his roof. We'll get you at least weekly content until I need to turn again to my trusted paper wall calendar until the 19th of December. The audio podcast and the video podcast will go live on September 2nd. As we repeatedly said, it's Labor Day in the US. Happy Labor Day for all of you listening there. If you get your news to your inbox, if you prefer that, you can subscribe to our Substack. For everything else, there's our link tree. Our enablers. This recording is supported by HTII and the European Enterprise Network Hessen. This recording was made possible by Hessen Trade and Invest and the Enterprise Europe Network Hessen. These organizations have made tremendous contributions to helping startup businesses succeed and thrive, providing a range of services from helping to find grants to ongoing partnerships. By taking advantage of these resources, startup companies can network and develop innovative strategies for success on the international stage. The dedicated support of HTIA and the Enterprise Europe Network Hessen is paramount in providing startup businesses with the tools for lasting success. Look for our dedicated sub-podcast in partnership with them called Tech Startups Germany. Startup Raven, the best way to find investors and cooperation partners for early stage startups. Sign up for early access here. Chris, you delve a little bit more into the top news. As we said before, we're now doing a little bit more top news and go a little bit more in depth there.
Yeah, some of it I already mentioned in the highlights section, but let's have a closer look at some of these news. First off, Helsing, an AI startup based in Munich, working in defense AI. They have secured 450 million euros in Series C funding and are now looking at a valuation of a staggering 4.9 billion euros. Their investment hopefully accelerates the development of AI technologies aimed at enhancing European security. So, good for them that right now they are, I guess, at an intersection of two booming trends right now, with Europe wanting to be more independent when it comes to defense and security investments.
For our international audience, 4.9 billion euros is almost 5.5 billion US dollars valuation year.
You can have a look at how Helsing is poised to shape the future of defense tech in a more in-depth article in our show notes that we are linking to from 10 Silicon Canals. Then, moving on, Lilium, an air taxi startup, they are a bit more troubled. They are considering sale and relocation in the middle of German state aid uncertainties. They consider themselves one of the pioneering German air taxi startups, but are exploring a potential sale because, the support in Germany grew colder for the air taxi industry, fantasy, some might say. Their potential move actually would, I guess, impact the future of air mobility in Germany as a whole, or the German startup ecosystem even. You can read more about Lilium's options and the implications for the industry also in our show notes, this time a longer article at Handelsblatt, some kind of, the biggest German daily newspaper for business and economics news.
I once again have to add some content here. We also had an article that didn't make it into this news episode. A study saying that only wealthy people could afford such air taxi rides because the fares would be pretty high.
Mm-hmm. Moving on to the European Central Bank, ECB in Germany, they have published their first progress report on a digital euro, or the digital euro. Which means they are preparing a digital currency. In the first report, you can read about key developments, future steps in the digital euro project, a project of which they hope that it will revolutionize the European financial landscape. Grover, a Berlin-based tech rental company, has raised 50 million euros in new funding despite facing market challenges, including a retreat from the US market here. Funding round now will support Grover's growth and profitability goals. They are navigating a rather challenging economic climate right now and are thinking a lot about the future of tech rentals. You can read more about that also in our show notes. They are not anymore right now having a unicorn startup, but it seems as if there are some honest conversations going on right now. In Vienna, we see that the HR tech startup Speed Invest Heroes filed for insolvency. They recently rebranded as HROs because their funding attempts proved to be unsuccessful in the end. This development highlights the challenges faced by startups in the HR tech space as a whole during our economic tough times right now. Details of the bankruptcy and its implications for the industry are explained in depth on trending topics. We found top 4 fundraisings summing up at least or almost 900 million euros. Helsing, we already said, 450 million euros in Series C. Then Mannheim-based ESG platform OSapiens secured 110 million euros to expand global reach. Kettle YM, a Munich-based biotech startup, raised 150 million euros in Series D for cancer immunotherapy. And Care Syntax from San Francisco and Berlin raised $180 million. Major funding rounds, which I guess all highlight growing investor confidence in European deep tech and biotech, because they are all positioning these startups as key players in global innovation. And I think here we really can say, I mean, looking back to when we started also our show, these are numbers that back then would have been like more or less unthinkable. Having 3-digit millions in funding for a single company back then would not have been possible. And because I remember us talking a lot about in the beginning also about how the German startup scene or the European startup scene will ever be able to keep up with the developments in other hotspots like Silicon Valley. And now numbers like this really show that there are all these like highlights or maybe unicorns that prove that also the industry here has become more and more important. And WeFox is getting in heavy waters. It's an insurtech unicorn undergoing significant changes as it exits the German market and takes a strong valuation hit. Recently, WeFox secured a crucial 25 million euros in fresh funding from existing investors because they needed to avert a potential sale to a UK insurance broker named Ardennar. And now the new capital allows WeFox to restructure operations, focus on profitable markets like the Netherlands, Austria, and Switzerland, while transforming the business in Italy. CEO Mark Hartigan reaffirmed in his role, and WeFox is now poised to navigate strategic shifts a bit better and overall strengthen the position in the European insurtech landscape. We also have sources here for a full story. This is what I would say the highlight section for this month or for this summer.
Yes.
Handing it over back to you to talk housekeeping and bragging.
Do you know, you talked about the past, and we had a few episodes of the Unicorn Stampede where we had almost monthly new unicorn creations. Now with WeFox and Grover, we have 2 leaving the club, but I'm sure there will be new ones coming in pretty soon. As Chris already said, housekeeping and time to brag. But you know, it ain't bragging if it's true. Startup Radio hit a new height of 2.1 million inventory in the first half of 2024. From Nobel laureates to Forbes entrepreneurs, we bring you the best of the GSA startup. Join us in this journey, and we are looking for 5 million inventory this year. That will be awesome. If you're interested to work with us, down here in the show notes, there is a link to our website, Become a Partner. You can subscribe and follow on the Startup Radio link tree. Also link here in the show notes. And for the ecosystem, I hand over to Chris, where we do have a little bit of world, where we have quite frequently US data, because they are a pretty good trend indicator of what is going on in startup world.
Yes, ecosystem, as you may know, the section of the show where we zoom in more and more. So we will start on a global scale first with a couple of news stories there. On a worldwide level, we see that European VCs outperform US VCs over 10 and 15 years or over 10 and 15 year horizons, writes Sifted. EdTech startup funding has plummeted in 2024 with only $360 million raised in the US, which is the lowest in over a decade due to market saturation, regulatory pressures, and economic uncertainty, writes Crunchbase. We also see that logistics startups face a tough reality. Investments have plummeted nearly 90%, dropping from $26 billion in 21 to just $3 billion in 23. Reasons for that are high interest rates and market shifts. Something that may also come to GSA, venture-backed startup bankruptcies in the US have surged by 60% in 2024, raising concerns about broader economic impact. Early-stage funding, and particularly early-stage funding in AI, is slowing. And startups are taking longer to close Series B rounds, with the median time reaching 28 months in 2024, highest in over a decade. Many 20 and 21 Series A startups face now a funding cliff as they struggle to secure follow-on funding. Zooming in on Europe, the EU's Digital Markets Act is a new take on tech regulation. That is like a topic for the connoisseurs there, but we have more information about that in the show notes, deeper links. McKinsey reports a surge in European deep tech investments. Europe now accounts for 19% of global funding, expected to grow 25 to 35% by 2030. And meaning that deep tech is Europe's chance at global innovation leadership. And we found two takes on venture debt on the Sifted website. Venture debt is surging in Europe with 18.7 billion euros raised in the first half of 2024, signaling an upcoming M&A wave. Climate tech and fintech are thriving while startups brace for strategic acquisitions. And venture debt is on track for a record year in Europe with 18.7 billion raised in H1. Just another source that we also linked to in the show notes, emphasizing a bit more that the surge is driven not only by fintech, but also by green tech giants. Zooming in even more on Switzerland and the Swiss ecosystem, Swiss startups raised 1.1 billion Swiss francs in the first half of 2024, with biotech here leading the charge despite an overall 9.5% decline. Early stage investments surged, particularly in AI and energy, while late stage funding lagged. Moving on to the neighbor in the north, I would say, Germany. The ZEW index reveals the steepest decline in economic expectations for Germany in 2 years. The outlook drops despite stable condition, while the US and China face worsening evaluations. Inflation expectations remain stable, though. And then we always talk about it each month. The IFO Geschäftsklimaindex, the IFO Business Climate Index for Germany, dropped to 87.0 points in July, down from 88.6 in June. Reasons for that are companies are increasingly dissatisfied with current business, and growing skeptical about the future. So the conversations about a deepening economic crisis are still not off the table here. In general, Germany's startup scene is waiting on promises. Only 22 of 58 initiatives have been delivered by the government. This is also another ongoing conversation about what can the federal government do in order to improve conditions for the startup scene. Right now, the German government coalition is in heavy waters overall. So the question here also is how much can they actually still push forward when it comes to a digital economy? More about that has Cash Online. Then this also leads to the fact that German startups give the government startup policies only a 4.0, like a 4. That means in Germany it's grade D, barely passed. They are especially criticizing the red tape, wishing for less bureaucracy and easier access to public contracts. Time to step up, government, says not just we, but also Bitkom. And we bring you content in English that is otherwise only available in German. It's funny that I claim we bring you content in English and I can't even pronounce the word otherwise. Anyway, Germany's AI,
fine.
Germany's AI landscape is full of potential, but challenges remain, from academic excellence to VC-backed startups. The road ahead requires focus on digital skills and innovation. You can dive deeper into the current AI state in Germany, in a deep read that we have. Related, but from a different source and different research, the German AI startup scene is booming with 687 startups in 2024, a 35% increase. As always with these things, it depends a bit on how they are specifically counting, but we are always interested in the trend lines. So seeing, well, there's A 35% increase is a significant development for us. Funding challenges persist, nevertheless, pushing some to the US. Berlin and Munich lead the funding, but other cities are catching up. And the top 27 AI startups are leading innovations from autonomous trucking to satellite-based fire detection. Another report about that can be found in our show notes. Then we have a blog post on Prequin report, a private equity in the DACH region. Is Sleeping Giant Awakens is the headline and the bottom line there. And on our blog, based on the NGP research, we found that generative AI and deep tech are driving GSA VC industry or scene. And Schleswig-Holstein, Germany's northernmost state, is seeing a startup boom with 37 new startups in 23. The region experienced a 20% growth, surpassing the national average. Software here leading the way. Again, the absolute number is probably not as important as the trend line here. So maybe you want to think about spending your time on the Baltic or Northern Sea. That was a lot of yapping from me. Let's move on to hubs, and let me hand it over to you.
Yes, as always, we want to highlight hidden gems of general startup interest, what international press does not cover. This time we tried our utmost to focus on as many cities as possible, and you'll hear there's a lot. The order of the news is simply the way we found them. Our former guest, Frankfurt Rhein-Main, our former guest, Compredict, raises $50 million in a Series B funding. We'll have an interview with them later in fall when there will be more news to share. Fasper, we also had them in our interview, on their takeover from FreshBooks, the Canadian unicorn. Now the founder, René, buys the shares back, regaining independence. Cheers to a new beginning. Here's the link in the show notes. And also René promised us an interview on his management buyout. Mainz BioNTech reports positive phase 2 data on its mRNA cancer drug in combo with Regeneron's therapy, promising results, but more details awaited. Koblenz. Sedui acquires Fox Education and raises a further 20 million euros, according to high-tech Gründerfonds HTGF. Hamburg Plankraft, the Hamburg-based leader in craft industry digitalization, has raised 12 million euros in a Series A funding led by Creadum. They'll use the funds to expand their contractor OS and go beyond the DACH region. Congrats to the team. Hamburg-based MRGE, Merge, acquires Max Bounty, enhancing its global reach in commerce advertising. This strategic move strengthens Merge's offerings in key markets and boosts its expertise in CPA, CPL, and CPI campaigns. Heilbronn, the city where a billionaire, the founder of Lidl, Dieter Schwarz, is located. Lidl founder Dieter Schwarz has rebranded Zukunftsfonds Heilbronn as D11Z Ventures, shifting focus to AI, digitalization, and deep tech startups, with plans to invest in 75 to 100 startups by the end of the decade. Mannheim, Sapiens, we already talked about them, 110 million funding. Congratulations. The round is led, by the way, by Goldman Sachs, and they already are used by 1,300 clients globally. Aachen, the city with the 2 A's, ProTempis secures 20 million from EIB to advance its groundbreaking Protembo device aimed at protecting patients' brains during heart procedures. Konstanz, Nime secures 30 million from Invus, a supercharged AI governance and model ops, empowering everyone to harness data with their open source platform. KNIME is shaping the future of data science. By the way, KNIME is an acronym, something with constant. I don't remember from the top of my mind. Heidelberg-based InsurTech GetSafe, we talked about that frequently, has reached profitability in its core insurance business for the first time. Thanks to high automation in customer service and claims processing, they aim for full profitability in 2025. Ebersbach, and that's the one I had to look up. It's about around 30 minutes by car from Dresden. Demikan, a Saxon startup, has become the first German company to receive an unlimited license to grow medical cannabis under the new Cannabis Act. This marks a major step. Augsburg, a major setback for rocket factory Augsburg RFA, as the RFA-1 rocket suffered a massive explosion during a test in Scotland. The incident delays their plans. The team is determined to push forward. Tübingen. Heparegin X, a Tübingen-based clinical stage company, raised 15 million in Series C funding led by Vesalius Biocapital 4. The funds will advance their liver disease therapy candidate. Hanover-based Hero, all in capital letters, secure 40 million in Series B to power tradesmen SME across Europe. With new funding, Hero aims to streamline financial transactions and expand its SaaS platform. Ooh, Chris, you want to take over Austria and Switzerland? Guys, as I said, a lot of very small cities here.
Yeah. So ecosystem in Austria and Switzerland. This is rather short today. In Austria, we see that Vienna-based EDI provider Ecosio has been acquired by the US software giant Vertex in a deal worth up to $180 million. The acquisition aims to create a seamless compliance management platform now. And in Switzerland, we tracked more than 160 million US dollar startups investments. We will tell you more about that later in the details, because now we are moving on to the general news, tech news, company news section. First off, VC news, new funds, in case you're looking for money, also only a selection. VCs are navigating a tough fundraising environment in 2024, with some opting for smaller, more focused funds, while giants continue to grow, is one of the reports that we found that asks, will the trend towards bigger rounds push fund sizes even higher? And UVC Partners just closed their fourth fund, at 250 million euros, smashing records with a quick and oversubscribed round. They are doubling down now on deep tech, climate tech, mobility, and AI startups in Europe. And this is what we see for the funding. We move on to green tech with you, Joe.
Green tech news. Big news for Europe's green future. EIB, the European Investment Bank, is teaming up with Deutsche Bank to boost wind energy with a 5 billion euro initiative, starting with a 1 billion guarantee for wind projects. Also, we found the EU climate tech scene is heating up, with 18.3 billion euros raised in 2023. These top investors are leading the charge toward a greener future. Check out the most active backers of climate innovation. EIC Fund, that is the European Investment Council, so it's a European Union thing, but this one is based in Germany. BPI France, Antler from Singapore, Speed Invest from Austria, SFC Capital from the UK, Green Angel Ventures from the UK, and again, the high-tech Gründer from HTGF from Germany. As always, we have an interview with the CEO. Fintech news. Let's get to the fintech news, Chris, shall we? Berlin-based Bunch has secured 15.5 million US dollars in a Series A funding to modernize private markets, replacing outdated tools with AI-driven solutions. A heist straight out of movie. Thieves made off with 18 million euros in luxury watches from Berlin's watchmaker in 2022. The culprits sentenced to years behind the bars. The loot still missing. Note, Watchmaster always try to position themselves as a fintech, so we include them here in the news. And Munich's Cometum is offering an exclusive chance to invest in Klarna shares before their rumored IPO, promising high returns with significant fees. Is this really a golden ticket or a risky bet? Read more in the source link. And Chris, I want to hand over you to a little bit money in the general news, right?
Hell yeah. In the general news now, also a lot of stuff to work through. So let me get right through it. TSMC is set to break ground on its first European fab in Dresden, Germany, with investments across Germany, Japan, and the US now nearing $100 billion. That actually just happened yesterday, and the groundbreaking, I don't know if you call it the groundbreaking. I mean, the ceremony where all the politicians came together actually even attracted Ursula von der Leyen from the European Commission and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. The whole project is not without criticism in Germany because $5 billion in funding, half of it actually comes from German taxpayers. And with these things, in the end, you never really know how much they are how much they are paying off. Once unicorns now fallen stars, several German startups, including Grover, Tier Mobility, and Lilium, have lost their billion-dollar valuations. Reasons for that are tough market conditions and strategic challenges. A more in-depth report about these devaluations you can find in the show notes. Porsche SE's bold move into sustainable mobility with Flixbus marks a new era for global transport. Discover how this strategic investment is set to reshape the future of mobility on our blog. I think it's really interesting to see that for a long time now, German car manufacturers are really looking into how to diversify their portfolios with regards to the future of mobility and obviously the electric mobility trend, but also car sharing and new forms of transportations and mobility. It's been a conversation for a long time, but probably now finally bigger moves and bolder moves are being made. Again, Porsche, they agreed to provide capital in a battery producer called Varta, pretty traditional and well-known battery producer in Germany, and Varta has a restructuring deal, so Porsche has their hands there because also, again, going back to electric mobility, all those manufacturers now need those batteries. We see a big move in logistics. Sender, written with two N's, is set to acquire C.H. Robinson's European land transport business, creating a 1.4 billion euro giant in the industry, a deal that boosts Sender's reach and strengthens also their digital logistics platform. We sneak in some more medtech research here. Researchers at the University of Mainz, close to where you are, discovered a replacement for fentanyl that has less severe side effects, obviously a very dramatic and problematic influence, especially here in the US, but also in other countries. We found news about German AI startup Aleph Alpha, who once claimed its language model could rival ChatGPT, but despite raising $500 million and initial excitement, the tech now seems really outdated and underwhelming. Industry insiders say its focus on niche solutions also limits the growth. We got several articles about this. So because there's also discussions with the parent company Schwarz Group that has significant influence in Aleph Alpha. And so the question really becomes whether those investors are overshadowing innovations. And we also have the rise and struggles of Aleph Alpha, Germany's AI hope. We have more in an original report on our website there too. Venture capital could be also NATO's ultimate weapon. If you want to know why, check the show notes. Big news in the SaaS world. SEMrush, a software as a service company, just acquired Munich-based Right with a Y instead of an I to supercharge their website user experience game. Salesforce snaps up Berlin-based Spoke AI to supercharge Slack AI. Another step towards taming the info overload in the workplace. Star entrepreneur Philipp Schröder from 1,5, 1.5, relating to the climate goal, promoted a now defunct crypto project through Cap Insight and is facing potential liability after investors suffered losses. Question now is, could this lead to a bigger legal reckoning in the crypto world? And TB Auctions has acquired German industrial auction house Surplex, expanding its reach across Europe, a strategic move that now enhances TB Auctions' presence in key markets. This is all this, and now some creative destruction. news.
It is. I was just checking because the first news is Hofheim, pretty close to Frankfurt-based startup Solar Native, files for insolvency, putting 130 jobs at risk. Despite innovative solar tech, they couldn't secure enough investors. A buyer is needed by August to avoid shutdown, and was just checking, but there's no news at the time of the recording. Berlin-based catering startup My Catering has filed for insolvency, but is actively seeking investors to secure its futures. Despite the setback, operations will continue with 14 jobs and supplier partnerships intact, writes T-Online. Berlin-based B2B startup Magaloop, a marketplace for store owners, wholesalers, and manufacturers, has filed for insolvency. Founded in 2018, it had raised around 20 million euros from investors like Fuse Future Partners and Bitburger Ventures. Insolvency also strikes Berlin-based Solytic, a solar software startup, and Hamburg's Additive, robotic 3D printing construction firms. EvoCortex, a company specialized in autonomous transportation systems for Industry 4.0, has to file for insolvency. The firm, known for its mobile robots and patented sensor technologies, aim to continue. Nothing we found in Austria and in Switzerland. Marinomed Biotech faces restructuring with 25 million euros in liabilities, filing to reorganize. Potential layoffs and asset sales are likely sucked down from 140 to 10. More details on trending topics. There was a lot of bad news. Chris, you want to end with the good news?
Let's end on a high note with more news about successful fundraising and exits. As always, please note this is just like a small selection. We only included some fundraising above 5 million euros or US dollars. And also this month we had the good problem that many announcements came in so that we could not include all funds raised. Let's go. Berlin-based Myne, M-Y-N-E, secures 40 million euros to expand its co-ownership vacation property model into Portugal and Croatia. Demand seems high, and Myne aims for profitability already this year and making vacation home ownership more accessible. Munich's One Data secures 32 million euros in a Series B extension to boost AI-powered data management and expand globally. They are powering blue-chip giants like BioNTech and trying to work on data product management. Creators of Stable Diffusion just launched Black Forest Labs with $31 million in funding to power Flux.1, a new AI image generator that's shaking up the open source scene. They're hoping for all of us to get ready for faster creativity. Live.io raises 25 million euros in a Series B funding. Berlin's Checkly raises 18.4 million euros. A bit of a queer sum, but this is because it's 20 million US dollars in Series B to revolutionize website monitoring with 10 times faster issue resolution through monitoring as code. Quick detection, less downtime, happier customers, their claim for fame. Then Finn Hensel, founder and CEO of Sanity Group, who was awarded the Entrepreneur of the Year award in 2021, has once again proven that his fundraising prowess in the German cannabis industry is really big. We had the pleasure of interviewing him after his latest achievement in a 17 million euro deal with Organigram Holdings. And you can read more about how his deal marks the beginning of a new era for cannabis in Europe. And we have a full-on interview with him. Berlin's family fintech app Bling secures $12 million in Series A, and they want to simplify finances and mobile plans for families. Partnerships, they emphasize strong partnerships and are on a mission to ease parents' lives. Munich-based Biomatter secures 6.5 million euros in seed funding to power its generative AI platform. They're working on enzyme development for industries from medicine to agriculture. So a startup working in bio-innovation and biotech. VARM, VARM, secures 5.7 million euros seed funding to revolutionize insulation and drive decarbonization in Europe. Big problem when it comes to climate change. We are so often just looking for mobility, but buildings are also losing a lot of energy and creating a huge problem when it comes to carbon emissions. So VARM's mission is to insulate 1 million homes in 10 years. They want to start in Germany, and now got money for that. And Katjes just took a bigger bite of the breakfast game. Katjes is a German sweet and candy company, because now they increased their stake in My Müsli to 56%. My Müsli, big German startup success story, basically allowing you to individualize your granola in the morning. So I guess it's an investment that makes sense for Katjes. Nothing newsworthy we found over the whole summer in Austria. They were all at the beautiful lakes in Carinthia, I guess. But some more stuff from Switzerland. We found big win for biotech ASCE Neuron closes $100 million Series C round to push their Alzheimer's drug ASN51 into phase 2 trials. So yeah, obviously huge hopes in that field in order to lessen the load of a deadly disease. With top investors now on board, the future of neurodegenerative treatment looks a bit more promising. Then Zurich's Lakera just raised 18.4 million euros, $20 million to secure Gen AI apps. Because in the AI world, security isn't just an option, it's a necessity, as they say. And Zurich-based Libation, Libation. Oh, all these names, guys, come on. Please don't mock us. Find better names. Libattion, wanting to be a leader in upcycled energy storage. They raised 14 million euros to decarbonize that industry. Zintara, a Zurich-based semiconductor innovator, raised $11 million, led by V Squared Ventures. With the money, they want to launch their patent-pending compute RAM for embedded computing. Limatech scores a 10 million euro win, partnering with Valneva to fast-track the world's most advanced Shigella vaccine. So also hoping for medtech innovation there. And Swiss health tech startup Sanos raises 7 million euros, led by Google Ventures and Partech, to expand its dental platform Roger. They're working in patient management.
That was a wrap. Chris, did you notice that the creative destruction is getting shorter and shorter by now, and the fundraising is getting long again, even though we totally cut a lot out here? I see that as a good sign and hope the economy does not go as bad as it looks right now.
Wonderful.
Oh, yes, and we do have a lot of stay ahead of the curve. We have a new feedback form. Please give us feedback. This one is not only for Startuprad.io in general, but you can also give feedback on the individual episodes. There is also an option to contact and follow both of us on LinkedIn and Twitter. Guys, thank you very much, Chris. We may tell the audience that it's now 1.5 hours after we originally wanted to start our news recording, and we're recording now for more than 45 minutes. Guys, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much. We will be back, Chris and I, together with the next news on October 3rd. Thank you very much and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That's all, folks. Find more news, streams, events, and interviews at www.startuprad.io. Remember, sharing is caring.